Coming up in this edition of Southern Newsweek, Commonwealth Games para-javelin thrower Holly Robinson returns to Dunedin, low-flying F-16 pilots are branded as being irresponsible, and Invercargill nurses protest for better pay and conditions. Hello, I'm Melissa Barton. A well-deserved break awaits Holly Robinson, but bigger things could be on the way. The para-javelin thrower overcame an Achilles tendon injury to set an F-46 javelin record and claim a silver medal at the 2018 Gold Coast Commonwealth Games.
Para-javelin silver medalist Holly Robinson returned to Dunedin with her silver medal and watch, recognising her world record throw of 43.32 metres. She describes the atmosphere of the Games.
It was a really amazing experience, and what made it even better was the crowds and the Australians. They were really, really cool. It was great, you know, all the team gelled really well and we were all so supportive. We had athlete lounges in the village and everyone hung out around there, watched all the events, which was really cool.
Holly Robinson's planning to have a short break in Dunedin, but says that also might have some challenges.
Yeah, so we spoke on it briefly, just have a wee bit of break at the moment, probably start training in May, and then World Champs is the next big one, so just stick around Dunedin for winter. First winter I've actually been here for about 6 or 7 years, full winter, because we usually head away, so I think that's going to be a challenge in itself, but I'm really looking forward to that winter block and just having some time to work on a few things that we haven't had the time to at the moment.
Her coach, Raylene Bates, was with her at the Games and says it was tough maintaining a cool head when Robinson was leading the competition.
No, I mean there was more there. That was the thing. Yeah, there's always more there. As a coach, you're trying to keep your expressions very calm. Underneath, I'm going, and then I'm trying to go, okay, no, don't be happy with that. Come on.
Holly Robinson says she's looking forward to the World Champs, where she and coach Raylene Bates have a chance to prove that Robinson can throw even further. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
Queenstown-based helicopter pilot is slamming visiting US Air Force F-16 pilots as irresponsible and foolish. This comes after they were seen flying low close to a helicopter and 3 parachutists near Franz Josef Glacier 3 weeks ago. The Fighting Falcon jets were not in radio contact at the time, sparking anger and safety concerns from some West Coast tourist helicopter operators.
Lighting Fast describes this US Air Force F-16 jet on a demonstration flight at the Warbirds over Wanaka show 2 weeks ago. Captain Jake Impelazeri trained for 2.5 years to fly one of those jets, but he admits to enjoying flying at high speed over New Zealand's scenic mountains.
The greatest 2.5 years of your life when you finally get to sit down in one of these Warbirds and rage over, especially the awesome mountains of New Zealand. Down there south.
The F-16 jets was seen flying low and close to a helicopter near Franz Josef and 3 parachutists near Fox Glacier, sparking safety concerns from West Coast helicopter operators. The Civil Aviation Authority told the Otago Daily Times in both incidents the F-16 pilots were not in radio contact, so other aircraft did not know they were in the area. A New Zealand Defence Force spokesman says the Royal New Zealand Air Force did provide a briefing on local flying procedures. Following the complaints, the F-16 pilots were made aware of the rules and there were no more occurrences. Queenstown helicopter pilot Richard Mills says the actions by the visiting US pilots are very foolish.
Anybody flying through a mandatory broadcast zone or a common frequency zone without making the prescribed radio calls is very foolhardy and foolish and irresponsible if they don't make a radio call.
Mills says issues with visiting pilots happen from time to time in areas like Milford Sound, Fox and Franz Josef glaciers. Mills often hears of private pilots flying over Milford Sound, not realising there are up to 35 aircraft in that space at any one time.
And it's a real issue. So we do have an issue with itinerant pilots in that Milford area at times.
Flying at speed might impress some, but the actions of their pilots weren't as impressive. Mina Amso, The South Today.
Southland nurses held a protest in Invercargill's Wagner Place to campaign for better pay and to address concerns about working conditions. Sharon Rees reports.
What do we want? Fair pay! When do we want it? Now!
The rain wasn't enough to ward off these Southland nurses today, who were rallying for better pay and working conditions. The New Zealand Nurses Organisation has been in talks with district health boards for a countrywide pay deal, but last month rejected the DHB's offer of a 2% annual increase in salary.
Today we're rallying in support of safer staffing, better wages for nurses, just recognising the work that nurses do and how valuable we are to the healthcare system. For years we've taken quite low increases in pay, not keeping up with kind of other professions that are similar to ours and that they're paid by government.
Smith said the rally was also about community awareness and gaining public support. And if the chorus of car horns was anything to go by, these nurses had plenty of that.
I think for years nurses kind of take one on the chin and just keep trudging along, and people don't really know that they're struggling. And so yeah, it is to kind of just raise some public support for nurses.
The protest is one of many throughout the country as New Zealand nurses fight to make their voices heard. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
Otago University Rugby Football Club consolidated its place at the top of the table against the Dunedin team at Kettle Park on Sunday.
Otago University remains unbeaten after a 30-24 win against Dunedin on Sunday.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. Pretty tough Dunedin pack, as they always are. You know, you got Donny up front, and then they got a few big boys, Hame Tomura as well, but the boys fronted up well.
Newcomer to Premier Rugby, Roman Blackman, is already making waves, helping University to put 20 points on the board by half-time.
Only my second game today. Coaches are really backing me, telling me to take it to the line and just do my thing. So I'm enjoying playing footy out here. Just getting a lot of confidence off each other, and a lot of the boys and the forwards, the older fellas, Dicko and that, they're really leading us around the park.
The win gave the University team both the Jonathan Keogh Memorial Trophy and the Spates Challenge Shield. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek. With almost 500 job vacancies, a pop-up job shop opens in Invercargill, and we meet an ID fashion model with a difference. Welcome back. The Dunedin Botanic Garden is to provide extra space for injured native birds to recuperate. This will provide a home for birds that have been treated at the Dunedin Wildlife Hospital. The South Today found out more.
Currently, there aren't many places in Dunedin for native birds to recover following veterinary treatment. But these empty aviaries at the Dunedin Botanic Garden are to be made available for avian rehabilitation. Botanic Garden team leader Alan Matchett says that only minor modifications will be needed to turn these aviaries into a temporary home for some of New Zealand's rarest birds.
There's an option here of doing some minor modifications to the aviary behind me to house or provide 4 separate flights to house injured and recuperating birds.
The Botanic Garden is already home to captive breeding programs for Kia and Kaka, plus this Kia who is too injured to ever fly in the wild again. The plan is that recovering birds will stay here only until they regain full health.
Yeah, once the birds have recovered well enough to fend for themselves out in the wild, they will be released.
Dunedin Wildlife Hospital supporters Action Engineering and Seaview Cottage Construction will upgrade the aviary for free. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
Venture Southland is helping to fill almost 500 job listings in Invercargill this week. The Southland Pop-Up Job Shop is back in Invercargill to offer assistance for anyone looking to join the Southland workforce.
Invercargill job seekers are being encouraged to pop in to a pop-up job shop this week. The Southland Pop-Up Job Shop is a collaboration between Venture Southland and various Southland employers, aiming to help job seekers into employment.
We're here to advertise the jobs available in Southland as of today. We have a number of employers and recruitment agencies on board as well, and we also hold seminars here. So giving CV advice, interview techniques, everything's here. If you want to apply for a job, come on down.
With almost 500 vacancies listed for Invercargill alone, Venture Southland has expanded the program to showcase the opportunities throughout the region.
We're also holding a pop-up job shop in Gore and Te Anau, so we've reserved those jobs for those areas. But that's probably another 100 or 200 jobs. Diak
said the one-on-one assistance made the job application process a lot easier.
If you're filling out hundreds and hundreds of job applications online, it kind of becomes a blur. So it's nice to be able to come down and actually talk to someone about the process and how to apply, and all the support's available here.
Daily seminars will be held at the job shop to offer assistance with CVs and interview techniques. The Southland pop-up job shop in Invercargill runs until Saturday. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
A call-up to model at the ID International Emerging Designer Show next month will be a first for model Charlotte Goodyear and a first for the show. Goodyear's look is one of classic androgyny, a look which was strong in the late 1960s and appears to be gaining more popularity again as gender lines blur.
The annual ID Dunedin Fashion Week is rapidly approaching. Charlotte Goodyear has been selected as one of the models to walk on the runway this year. However, the 22-year-old hasn't always been able to model this style of clothes.
So since I was a very young child, I always felt different, and I learned early on to sort of hide that. Acting feminine as a young child, as a young boy, is not a good way to go.
For more than 5 years, Goodyear has been on a journey from male to female.
I really started looking into it about 6 years ago, but my medical process has probably been just under half of that, and there was a lot of obstacles in the way of getting to that point.
Charlotte Goodyear is now a second-year student studying product design at Otago Polytechnic and came to modelling as a self-esteem booster.
So about 2 years ago I did a self-confidence course at Art Model Management, which really helped me a lot, and I wanted to get into modelling, and I didn't know it was a possibility. So fast forward to end of last year, I did the Polytech end of year fashion show, and that was my first runway show.
Being a fashion student and the right build to model, Goodyear applied to work at the ID show last year but was unsuccessful. However, this year, those choosing who walks and who doesn't picked Goodyear, who says recent worldwide discussion of transgender issues has been good.
I think overall it's been helpful. Of course, you see a lot of controversy about transgender people in the news, but I think it's opened up that thought to a lot more people than it did before, so things have changed a lot for the trans community in recent years.
Charlotte Goodyear is pleased to be among the models walking at ID 2018 and is putting a best foot forward to hopefully great heights in the fashion industry. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
It's not every day a group of Kiwi blokes take up ballet dancing for a stage performance. Reporter Mina Amso went to find out more about a group of Queenstown guys preparing for the Akarua Arrowtown Autumn Festival.
Meet the Queenstown Ballet Boys. Steve Kay, Gary Clearwater, Chris Dogg and Ian Sparker-Bosch. Your typical Kiwi blokes with a twist. Rehearsing at Q-Pact Studio in Queenstown every Thursday night for the last 2 months to master new belly dancing moves for their show next weekend, all part of the Arrowtown Autumn Festival program.
Very, very, very difficult, even with this much belly.
Busting his moves at the rehearsal, Kay says he has the odd spin at home too in front of his wife and 2 daughters.
Do they give you any feedback on how you're improving?
Yeah, none of which is repeatable in front of the camera.
Kay, who performed the Rapping Grannies at the Christmas show last December, says this new challenge has shaken off the dust a bit.
This is the third to last training session for the boys. There's a lot of hip movements tonight. They are making sure that they know all the moves.
The performance is choreographed and led by belly dancer and Queenstown local B. Smith. She says it's a challenge teaching the boys how to shake their hips, but it's a unique experience.
It's amazing. They are very, very dedicated and they are very motivated and they motivate me.
Show organiser Margaret O'Hanlon says the boys are taking the practices very seriously.
I saw them in the very beginning and now I've watched them tonight. And they actually have the right movement, you know, they have the hip movements and it's really, I mean, I'm just like, wow.
The boys will showcase their shimmying and twisting techniques as they bring to life the exotic Arabian dance at the Anthem Hall on Saturday night. Mina Amso, The South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, we take a ride in a Zero car at this year's Otago Car Rally, and dogs splash around in Alexandra to raise money for homeless cats. Thanks for staying with us. Two former St Hildas Collegiate school pupils have been immortalised in a new stained glass window in the school chapel. Former pupils Dana Gallagher and Sam Cass were used as models for a stained glass window in the school chapel, which was blessed recently.
Imagine seeing yourself in stained glass. Dana Gallagher and Sam Cass were used as the models for the figures in this image, and say it was weird to see themselves in the window when they visited the school. However, as Dana explains, they're proud to be a part of the school's history.
So at the top there we have the tōrua, which is kind of like just putting a blessing over the whole mirror. And the mirror is kind of wrapped around this tukutuku panel. The ones on the side are beside Geraldine, they're from the Otago Marae. The one at the top is kind of representing Aramoana. And the ones that wrap down the side are kind of Islander, I think Samoan themed.
The window tells the story of sisters Geraldine and Etheline, nuns who came to Dunedin in the 1880s and established St Hildas Collegiate School in 1896. Dana and Sam were selected by Dunedin stained glass window maker Peter Mackenzie because they looked so very similar to the sisters, and he believes they suited the school's values.
The artist, he really wanted them to look, he just loves the idea of educated, powerful women. So that's why the kind of the idea he was going for with having the book and the knowledge and like the woman just looking there confidently.
The pair say at first they found it a bit creepy, but are pleased to be a permanent part of the school. St Hilda's principal Jackie Barron says the window was commissioned by the school's Old Girls Association. The window was 10 years in the planning and manufacture and was officially blessed by Bishop Stephen Benford recently. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
There was plenty of splashing around for a fundraiser at Alexandra's public swimming pool. The event was called the Soggy Doggy Splash and the swimmers were canine rather than human. The South Today found out more.
Dogs of all sizes got a chance to have a fun swim at the Molyneux Aquatic Centre in Alexandra on Sunday. Team leader Jen Ferris explained that swimming by humans had ceased in February and this was an ideal chance to raise funds for the SPCA.
Well, we started doing it last year. Purely, it was an idea that came from the SPCA, and it's not only good for the SPCA, it's a fundraiser for the SPCA. It's a good time for us because the pool is now close to the public, so it works in well for us. I think also it's a great opportunity for socialisation for the dogs. So yeah, it was great fun last year. This year they've split it into two, so we've had the small dogs this morning from 11 till 12, and now we've got the big dogs from 1 till 2.
The hope was to raise a similar amount to last year, which was $1,500. Shirlene Steele from the local SPCA said the money from the dog swim would go towards a home for cats.
We've just almost completed a new cat facility out at Earnscleugh, so we're sort of trying to raise as much as we can to complete that project, which we're almost there.
The fact that they were raising money for homeless cats shows how big-hearted dogs can be, and Ferris agreed that the mutts had been on their best behaviour.
Oh, just the socialisation, running around and sniffing, and yeah, they love it, absolutely love it. We tend to have I've never had a rough moment, you know, where dogs have argued or anything like that, so yeah, it's very interesting.
The plan is to run the Soggy Doggy fundraiser in Alexandra at least once a year. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
The hills around Otago were no place to be if you enjoyed peace and quiet last weekend, as the cars took part in the Otago Rally. World Rally Championship star Hayden Paton won every stage of international competition. However, Paton's car, plus every other car, was in the dust of the Zero cars. Daryl Baser played co-driver.
Motorsport can be a very expensive pastime, with cars on the World Rally circuit costing up to $1 million to put together. However, all the flashiest cars on the International Rally circuit all follow cars put together on a fraction of their budget. The course checkers, or Zero cars, race around the tracks just ahead of the competitors.
Our function is to go quickly through the stage, not quite at race pace, with the view to making sure that we finish, but also fast enough to warn spectators and keep an eye out for anything that might impinge on the competitors behind us.
Dunedin's Graham Roper drove his 000 late 70s Datsun on the stages at almost rally speed in the minutes before the competitors, and says it's a relatively cheap way to enter the sport.
The roll cage in this car, if you had it built now, would be the same price you could buy the whole car for. So you can get into motorsport really relatively inexpensive, $5,000 odd. Tyres, and it's a well-built car. It's been a rally car for a long time. It's showing its age here and there, but at the same time we're on the same roads as everybody else. Currently we're leading Hayden Paton, only because we're first car on the road, but technically we're still ahead of him. But we're doing the same roads as everybody else, but because it's more basic, engine in the front, gearbox in the middle, diff at the rear, makes it a whole lot easier to maintain and certainly a lot more fun.
Another function of these cars is to share the experience of rallying with others. Daryl Baser here for The South Today in the co-driver's seat of Graham Roper's 000 car. We've done one stage this morning where we lost brakes halfway through. It's quite amazing when you watch someone driving, putting their foot to the ground of the brake pedal and nothing happening. Wasn't scared at all. Thanks to Emma Gilmore's crew, our brake issue was fixed and we returned to leading the race, in a manner of speaking. On Saturday, the Tarmac Super Special stage around parts of the wharf area provided thrills and spills for many, even those hard at work at Ritchie's with a bird's eye view of the start line. The weekend's events are the first on the rallying calendar for the year, with drivers and teams keen to prove their mettle. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
A walking track up Wanaka's Mount Iron is scheduled for a major upgrade. This follows a huge increase in foot traffic to the scenic lookout in recent years. The South Today took a look.
13 years ago, about 50 people each day walked up the rough track to the top of Wanaka's Mount Iron. But that number has ballooned into well over 300 per day in recent years. So the Department of Conservation has decided to realign the track into a more manageable path. However, as part of the track is not on dock land, agreements with other landowners still need to be reached. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
The latest family of Colombian refugees to relocate to Invercargill have been given a warm welcome this week. The Medina Diaz family arrived in Invercargill just in time for winter, but the Kiwi Quilt Circle has got them covered.
As far as welcomes go, it doesn't get much warmer than this. Invercargill's Kiwi Quilt Circle yesterday gifted quilts to the Medina Diaz family, a Colombian refugee family who relocated to the city last month.
Each year, the Quilt Circle chooses a charity and we make quilts to give to a worthy cause. And over the years we've helped many groups in Invercargill. But this year, because of the refugees coming, we thought we would have that as our focus and make them some quilts, which would hopefully help keep them warm and cosy in our cold winter.
Tane said quilt makers from the Kiwi Quilt Circle have been working overtime to ensure there was plenty of choice for the new families.
We've been making these since February to get enough stockpiled so that they're allowed to choose, which is nicer than us just giving them one. So we do have to keep making ahead to keep enough, so there is a choice for people.
Red Cross cultural advisor and interpreter Mauricio Converse said the families had been overwhelmed by how welcoming the community had been.
They are really thank you for that, really appreciate that, and they with these events they feel more like the community accept them.
The Medina Diaz family are the third refugee family to relocate to Invercargill, and with up to 100 refugees expected to arrive over the next year, members of the Waikiwi Quilt Circle have their work cut out for them. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
That's all from our news team this week. You can go online and check us out on Facebook, or you can keep up with Southern News via our website, YouTube and channel 39.co.nz. I'm Melissa Barton and thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.